The powerful CEO never once acknowledged the black janitor who quietly cleaned his floors, until the day his autistic son vanished inside the building. What happened next shattered his pride, exposed his prejudice, and led to a transformation no one saw coming. Mr. Charles Reynolds was a man used to power. The kind of power that silenced rooms and bent decisions. As the CEO of a billion-dollar corporation in downtown Chicago, he commanded respect, not with warmth or kindness, but with his signature glare and clipped words. He was punctual, demanding, and precise. And above all, he believed in a clear hierarchy. Some people belonged in boardrooms, others in boiler rooms. And Marcus, the janitor who worked the night shift and sometimes the day, firmly belonged to the latter. Marcus Washington was a man of few words. In his late 40s, with salt creeping into his hair and calloused hands that spoke of years of labor, he moved quietly through the building. Always early, always polite. Most people didn't notice him. Mr. Reynolds certainly didn't. Except to complain when the trash bins weren't emptied fast enough. What Mr. Reynolds didn't know, and never cared to ask, was that Marcus had a daughter. Sophie. 20 years old and brilliant, she had earned a scholarship to study special education at a state college. Her dream was to become a teacher for children with disabilities. Marcus worked double shifts to make up what the scholarship didn't cover. But one Tuesday morning changed everything. Mr. Reynolds arrived with his 10-year-old son, Ethan. It was rare. Ethan had autism, and Mrs. Reynolds had to leave town suddenly. With no sitter, Charles brought his son along, promising the boy a quiet day in his private office with an iPad and coloring books. Ethan didn't like change. Or noise. Or strangers. But that morning, he'd nodded solemnly and followed his father into the towering building. For the first few hours, things went smoothly. Ethan sat in the corner of the office, headphones on, eyes glued to his favorite animal videos. Charles barely glanced his way, too busy preparing for a major investor call. But at exactly 10:42 a.m., chaos erupted. Charles looked up to find the office door slightly ajar. Ethan was gone. First came disbelief. Then the blood drained from his face. He called security. The building went into soft lockdown. Staff were instructed to check each floor. Panic crept into Charles's usually unshakable voice. Ethan was nonverbal. If something scared him, he wouldn't cry for help. He would shut down, freeze. Or worse, hide. 30 minutes passed. An hour. Still no sign. And then, in the dim light of the maintenance floor, 2 levels below the parking garage, Marcus found him. The elevator Ethan had stepped into had short-circuited and stopped halfway between floors. A maintenance glitch. The boy was curled up in the corner, eyes wide, breathing fast, his small frame shaking. Marcus didn't hesitate. He dropped his mop and called softly, "Hey there, young man. You all right?" Ethan didn't respond. He rocked slightly. The overhead emergency light flickered. Marcus slowly stepped inside the stuck elevator and sat on the opposite side, giving Ethan space. Then, gently, he began to hum. It was a lullaby. One his daughter loved when she was a baby. To an outsider, it might have seemed silly. But to Ethan, it was something else, a rhythm. Predictable. Soothing. Within minutes, his breathing slowed. The shaking subsided. And when Marcus reached into his pocket and pulled out a small plastic elephant from his keychain, Ethan's eyes lit up. He reached out. Touched it. Then whispered, "Elephant." It was the only word he spoke that day. By the time the maintenance team arrived and pulled the elevator open, they found a sight they never expected. Ethan nestled beside the janitor, calm and safe, holding the elephant keychain in his small hand. Mr. Reynolds came running. When he saw his son safe, he froze. Then swept Ethan into his arms, whispering, "Thank God. Thank God." Marcus stood silently in the background. He didn't expect thanks. He was just relieved the boy was okay. Charles barely met his eyes. "You found him?" he asked, his voice clipped. Marcus nodded. "Yes, sir." He was scared, but he's all right now. Charles muttered a quick "thank you," without warmth or eye contact, and turned away. The building returned to normal. The investors arrived. The call went well. But Charles Reynolds couldn't stop thinking about that moment, about finding his son, not with a security guard or a top executive, but with the janitor he'd never spoken more than 3 words to. That night, curiosity overrode his pride. He searched Marcus's name in the company records. Learned he had worked there for 8 years without a single complaint. No tardiness. No write-ups. Then he found Sophie. A scholarship student. Studying special education. That explained how Marcus had known what to do. The humming, the distance, the elephant, it wasn't luck. It was love. It was knowledge passed down from a father supporting his daughter's dreams. Charles sat at his desk for a long time. That week, without telling anyone, he called the university Sophie attended and paid off the remaining balance on her tuition. Every cent. He also called HR and created a new position, Community Support Liaison, a role meant to mentor and guide young interns from underprivileged backgrounds entering the workforce. Then he offered the position to Marcus, at triple the salary. When Marcus was summoned to the 45th floor, his first time ever, he walked in wearing his usual work shirt, confused and cautious. Charles stood up. For the first time, he extended his hand. "Marcus," he said, "I owe you more than I can say." Marcus hesitated, then shook it. "You don't owe me anything, sir. I just did what I hoped someone would do for my daughter." Charles nodded. Then quietly added, "She's going to be a great teacher. And now, she won't have to worry about finishing her degree." Marcus's eyes widened. I don't know what to say." Charles looked down. "You said enough when you saved my son." From that day on, things shifted. Marcus took his new role seriously, mentoring young workers, offering resume tips, teaching them about quiet dignity and hard work. Ethan, meanwhile, asked about the Elephant Man every time he visited the office. On his next visit, Marcus gave him a new keychain elephant. Ethan smiled and said clearly, "Thank you, Marcus." It was the first time he said anyone's name besides his parents. Charles stood nearby, eyes misty. For once, he said nothing. Just watched. Because in that small moment, he saw something money, power, and corporate status could never buy: genuine connection, humility, and redemption. Epilogue. 6 months later, Charles Reynolds gave a speech at the company's Diversity and Community Development Conference. It was unexpected, he rarely spoke at such events. But that day, he walked to the podium and cleared his throat. "I used to think leadership meant commanding people. That some lives were more important than others. I was wrong. A man I once overlooked saved my son. Not because it was his job, but because it was his nature. That man is now one of our most valuable employees. And more than that, he taught me to listen." He paused. "To Marcus Washington, and to all the people like him, thank you, for reminding us of the kind of world we should be building." The audience rose in applause. And in the front row, Marcus sat beside Sophie, who was now finishing her student teaching. She looked at her father and whispered, "Told you you'd change the world." Marcus smiled, tears in his eyes, and replied softly, "One life at a time." And just like that, one quiet act of kindness changed everything. A man once invisible became the hero no one expected. A father opened his heart. And a child found a new friend who understood him without saying a word. Sometimes, the people we overlook are the ones holding the wisdom, the strength, and the love this world so desperately needs. So the next time you pass by someone without a second glance, remember Marcus. Because you never know who might save your world one day, or whose world you might save. What did this story teach you? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear your thoughts. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, subscribe for more heart-touching real-life stories, and share this with someone who needs a little hope today. Until next time, stay kind, stay human, and never stop believing in second chances. Thanks for watching.